I'm Max Derrat, that's Sybsidian Maximum News. Normally we like to jump right into the news, but I do have to give a bit of a quick intro. In case I sound a little bit different, that's because I'm currently at my girlfriend's place and I've yet to get this place soundproofed. So you might hear some sounds from the highway, my girlfriend in the other room, or the sound of a cat trying to get inside this room to play with me. But yeah, that will be taken care of next week, I promise. We have the parts ordered. So let's just jump with that out of the way. Let's jump right into the news. We got about 4 items. We're going to have to raffle through them pretty quickly because, well, there hasn't been that much news this past week, and I also got other stuff that I got to do today. So, first of all, Xbox and Bethesda, they have a showcase on June 12th. This is good because one thing that we didn't have the chance to talk about recently when it was announced was the E3 cancellation. And we were wondering whether or not that was going to affect any sort of showcase happening. But then we found out that Jeff Keighley was doing his Summer Games Fest, so we would thankfully get some announcements there. But it seems like some of the companies are planning on doing stuff, and one of those is Xbox/Bethesda. It is confirmed it'll be happening on June 12th. At 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is 10 a.m. Pacific Time. So now, Syb, I think it's fair to say that we finally know when we're going to be seeing our first Starfield footage, right?
Yeah, well, we'll probably see something before then, honestly. This is what they've done before. So in Fallout 4, they released a very short clip right before the actual main showcase. And so expect to see a similar thing this year. Expect to see a lot of leaks. It helps to build up hype and make sure that people are tuning in. They don't want people to hear about what they covered in the showcase and then go, oh, well, wow, that's amazing. They want to bring people as an audience to have them hyped up watching the show live, getting really, really hyped up, really, really excited for all the stuff that's being shown. That's what they want. By the way, and this is a slight segue to our second thing, but this was part of the initial leaks that were put out recently. So this was part of the leaks was, hey, Xbox and Bethesda are having a showcase at this time on this day, and there's even a very small snippet of a Jeff Keighley interview with Todd Howard as well that has been pre-recorded. And that is apparently ready to go. Or again, so the leak claims, right? So we have obviously the big show. Xbox Bethesda wants to come out and they want to show off a ton of stuff. This is going to be probably one of the biggest showcases we're going to get through the year. It's probably going to be one of the best showcases of the year because this is them showing off a ton of stuff. We may also get some stuff from Activision being thrown into this because Activision has also been confirmed now from their shareholders that, yes, they are okay with the buyout.
Right.
That's one place where it could have stopped. So effectively, as far as the members, the companies, everybody involved in that side of the actual physical side of those companies are involved. This sale is going ahead. It still has to clear a couple of governmental hurdles from all over the world. There's a bunch of people that have to agree on it. If one of them says no, that's not the end of things. If one of them says no, depending on who it is, sometimes it's just a big double middle finger and they go, well, deal with it. And there's maybe some fines or something that might take place there.
Yeah.
But no, if the U.S. government gives the go ahead, if the European government gives the go ahead, then basically you've got Asia and one or two other markets that might be able to try and throw a monkey wrench into it. But at that point, that's not going to happen very quickly. And again, it's Microsoft. If they get told no, and then they say, well, we're going to challenge this, we're going to take this to the Supreme Court, that's going to happen very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And they probably will win on that. This is like, again, it would be different if there was like, hey, this is all of the games industries in the entire world coalescing under one company. That's not what is happening. There's dozens of other publishers. There's a ton of obviously like actual competition in the form of Nintendo, PlayStation, the Google Game Store, the Apple Game Store. It's just, there's tons of stuff that's just there for everybody. It's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely that we're going to get anything substantial in the form of people pushing back on this. It's just it's at this point, I really don't see it. There's a lot of doomsayers going, oh no, this is the end of this. This is never going to happen. It's like, no, it's going to happen. It's going to happen now that the stockholders have all said yes, this is going to happen. Absolutely, hands down.
Any pushback that would have happened would maybe be just one or two people saying, oh, but monopolies. And, that's obviously a definite concern, and we should always be on the lookout for that. But, yeah.
Absolutely. And there is a substantial lady in the Biden administration currently right now that is very much against this. But she's also been against every other major merger in the last 5 to 10 years, except for ones, of course, that
benefit
her, right? Because of course not that. Freaking hypocrisy is disgusting. But no, as far as the general feedback goes, she might be against it. She might be able to say, no, this is a kibosh, but she's going to get slapped down by lawyers. And there's this big thing called an election coming up. And there's only so many things that an administration can do before an election goes or hits that would result in them making enemies. And so just strategically wise, looking at the chessboard, seeing all the pieces at play, I have to say, no, this is going to happen. And I feel so strongly that that's the case that I suspect that what we'll see is we may see an Activision / Bethesda show, not a full showcase, but some kind of message or some kind of advertisement as to content coming out from them in the near future. Kind of pay attention, we're doing this. I'm also expecting that there's also a good chance that we will see yet another statement of acquisitions being made at the show as well.
Come on, Konami.
So they might buy out literally anybody. There's tons of companies that are essentially up for sale right now. I hope that there are some companies that get bought out, because I think that Microsoft is offering something that's really good right now. And what we want to see more of is we want to see more of small indie team studios, people like that, who are able to challenge the bigger corporations. And I honestly believe that Microsoft will allow that to happen for at least the next 5 years. And so some of you might say, well, what happens after that? Well, after that, if they do go down a black hole, or if they're become evil again and they start doing stupid stuff, well, that's where the indie studios pop up and continue to offer some resistance, because you're never going to have all video game creators cut off from the bulk of the industry. That's just never going to happen, because of the way that technology works. And you can look to any part in the world where they use mass censorship, it still doesn't work there. And they have the ability to censor everything, or at least they think they do. And so really when we're looking at this, I don't trust Microsoft, forever. They're not some kind of savior coming in and saving the gaming stream. But what they are doing is they're pumping money into the market, and they're helping a lot of small creators create new stuff and better stuff. And they're opening a lot of doors in the industry to help things improve. And why I know that this isn't going to hurt gaming is because two of the top games in Steam right now today from indie studios are having absolutely phenomenal success. Blah, 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 my English. I'm still recovering from a cold, so forgive me.
It's all good, man.
But yeah, just peruse Steam sales right now. Look at who's buying what. Look at what's going on. There's an indie game that I guarantee you most people have not heard about. I can't say the name of it because it's one of those games. They just passed 30,000 sales. in like a
Wow.
month and a half. This is an indie studio, and this isn't a $1 like, Vampire Survivors is an amazing game, but it's only being sold for $3. This game is being sold north of 10, and it is just on fire right now. And again, these are just two of the examples in the last month that have rocketed up the Steam sales, and we have more indies coming this year than I think last year and the year before that combined. So really, what we're looking at is we are looking at a new golden age of gaming, and that's why I'm okay with Microsoft buying out big companies, because let's face it, a lot of those companies were stagnating. At least under a new corporate umbrella, they can have some room to grow with Phil in charge. As soon as he's gone, I don't claim to believe in Microsoft. I really won't, because I'll have to see what the next person does, what the next person has to offer, what the next person is going to bring to the table. Because right now, Phil is doing it, and he's doing it because he respects art and he respects what people create.
Yeah, and his track record shows
that. Gone, then it's gonna fall apart. But for right now, it's working, and it's working really well for them.
Can you imagine if they brought Don Matrick back after all the work that Phil Spencer has done to bring back Xbox?
I don't think their board is that stupid.
Right.
I think they're seeing tremendous success, and that they're seeing, in the long term, like the bridges are being built, the roads are being built, and I think that's in a way that's what we need right now. Yeah. And I want Microsoft in there fighting against Apple and Google. Because like PlayStation is still pretty small comparatively, and it's good to have them as competition. They're learning some hard lessons too. So is Nintendo. So is a bunch of these other companies. But I have to say, 100% that if we didn't have these mergers, the biggest gaming company in the world would quickly become either Google or Apple, with their platform on their mobile devices. And I don't want to encourage mobile gaming any more than I physically can. I was going to cover, we just had a meeting about this. I was going to cover a mobile game that I was talking a little bit in the last couple months about. I was having some fun in it. I'm very good at it, but I've decided to cut it off because the microtransactions are just too much. And it's just too much. It's no matter how you approach it, no matter how hard you try, you have to be so reasonable, and you have to have such a strong like grip on yourself in order to avoid their kind of garbage, right? And it's like at this point, it's like it's so frustrating, it's so difficult, right? Because it's like Lost Ark and all these other games like Genshin Impact. It's like they're so good, they bring so much to the table, but they're so bad because they bring so much aggressive microtransactions to the table too. They're able to like squeeze every penny out of you, even when you're trying to play, smart or trying to play on a budget. It's like every minute they know exactly what makes you tick, right? They have teams of psychologists figuring out how they can make you spend money on it, and that's where we just have to say no. And right now, I don't see Microsoft doing this a lot. We will obviously see what happens once they take over Activision Blizzard, and Candy Crush being one of the biggest problems out there. And we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see how they handle that. Will Phil cave on this stuff? In a couple of days, a little bit of a surprise. Next week, we have the unveiling of the first World of Warcraft mobile game. Is it going to be a piece of garbage? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Is it going to be filled with microtransactions? We don't know right now. And I can assure you that if Microsoft and if Steam wasn't here, and the only thing that you had for games was on these, Google and Apple, what a nightmare that would be. And you wouldn't be getting good games. It would just be like thousands of programs vying for your wallet nonstop. Ugh.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that the trends seem to be at least for gamers like us, they seem to be going in somewhat of a positive direction with the release of Elden Ring, the reception of that. Microsoft doing all the indie stuff and buying up all these studios and making sure they have the resources to give us the types of games that we want. But of course, Microsoft is a big corporation. If they happen to go to tread away from the primrose path, we will definitely criticize them and let everybody know about it. So, yeah, June 12th, that'll be the showcase. Closer to that date, we'll go over the games that are most likely to be there. Obviously, Starfield and Redfall, and then like maybe the Activision stuff and the Xbox stuff. We'll talk about closer to the day.
Away.
Woohoo!
Yeah, we're 6 weeks away. I suspect we're going to see some cool stuff. I hope we see Fable. I hope we see stuff from Obsidian. Is one of my favorite. I'm really looking forward to that. I really hope Starfield is good, and we've got some more news about that in a second. So
yeah, but before we move on to the next part, I'm really just itching to hear your opinion on this. When this showcase happens, it will have been almost exactly 4 years since Elder Scrolls 6 was officially confirmed by Bethesda. Any chance that it'll be like anything will be revealed about that game?
I'm chewing. No,
yeah.
No.
It'll be like a
yeah, no. in this case, it's still way too early. They have their big drop this year coming with Starfield. It'll be out in 6 months from less than 6 months from the time they're doing the showcase. I really doubt we'll see absolutely anything on it. We might see hey, this is what Bethesda Studios has been up to tour guide. But again, I really doubt we'll even see something like that. In which case, in that, what we might see like another like subtle update on like, what are they working on? What advancements are coming. I don't think we'll see anything because this time next year will be a way better time slot for that. It'll be 2023. They'll be looking at releasing that game sometime in the next like 2 to 3 years, preferably. Like that's obviously their game plan. That would be the time for a big kind of like sneak peek on what's coming for that.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But they don't do big showcases, and they know people want the next Elder Scrolls right away. They really do. They know it, but they're also upgrading a lot of that tech. Right? They just became part of the Microsoft family. They're still porting over technology to Bethesda to enhance their ability to make games and to create new and better things. Yeah. And that's still a ways away from now today.
Yeah, I think you're right. Starfield is just too big a thing for them, and they still have several years ahead of them. And we still have to hear more about Redfall and the next Wolfenstein and Indiana Jones. So maybe more of that. All right, no problem. But before we actually move off with the Bethesda thing, I haven't heard about these leaks that you were referencing. What is going on with that?
So there's a ton of leaks that are coming out about Bethesda, about Starfield, about their studios, everything.
Anything about being able to fly a ship from planet to planet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah, a little bit of that too. So, excuse me. I'm still fighting this cold, and it's really hard to talk right now. So, some of this stuff that came out is not very true. And what do I mean by it's not very true? Do I mean that the news and information is complete bull? We covered this on Tuesday a little bit, and I have to say that yes, in the frame of is it complete bull? Yes, but does it mean we're going to see this kind of stuff? No. I mean, sorry. Also, yes. We are going to see it, but the leak is still bull. Why is why are the leaks bull? The leaks are bull because it's things like the next Elder Scrolls game will have a political system in which you can become the leader of a city and or guild. Really?
You don't say.
You don't say. Like every other Elder Scrolls game ever. Really?
The next Halo game will give you the ability to fire a gun and let you drive a warthog.
So there's other things like Elder Scrolls 6 is aiming to release in 2025, 2026. Oh my! Did you read that on their official webpage like 4 years ago? It's pulling out my hair, right? Like stuff like this. Like another one. Elder Scrolls will be set. The next Elder Scrolls game will be set in Hammerfall. They made that announcement already.
What? Wait, what?
It's been passively nodded to constantly.
Okay.
There's a development of a PvP VE game is in development at Roundhouse that may surprise you. That's not a leak. That's somebody looking at some job postings that have been out for a long time and several public statements and saying, hey, look, they're working on a PvP PvE game. Everybody's working on a PvP PvE game. And it may surprise you. Oh, it may surprise me. Oh, what does that mean? It could mean anything that you want. These are fake leaks created by people who are trying to like fluff things up, trying to like pull in more stuff to like get people talking about certain things and believing that that they have some like level of credibility.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just kind of like, this is not accurate stuff. This isn't good leaks. This isn't leaks that you want to go with. Quake is in talks to do. Quake reboot is in talks to happen.
Well,
again,
sure.
Stuff that we've known from like small side interviews and public statements for a long time now. Quake is a huge series. It's been around for a long time. You know how long they've been talking about rebooting that? For about as long of a time as they've been talking about making a Half-Life 3. And is it true? Yeah, there were about 23 iterations of Half-Life 3 that got pitched. 23. You just line that up. It's way more than one per year since we got Half-Life 2. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that is. And again, we covered a lot of this on Tuesday. A lot of this stuff is more or less bullshit. It's not accurate in the sense of like, oh yeah, this is going to be great. We're working on something huge and amazing and it's going to be cool. Now, that's one set of leaks that have come from one source. Another leak has come from what looks to be like a source that so this was a developer who was on a forum. They had been confirmed having worked for Bethesda in the past.
Huh.
And they came out and said something that they thought was already public knowledge, which wasn't quite public knowledge. Or at least that's what's suggested. Because so last week we were talking about the Starfield thing that came out, little update number 3. And they were talking about music. They were talking about the interactions of music and stuff like that. And one of the guys said that when you're flying around in your spaceship listening to this music, that it'll really hit you. This leak came out at about the exact same time as that. So the question is, well, is it an accurate leak, or did somebody just grab that, post it, and then proceeded to delete their account on the forums and hide a bunch of stuff and maybe they just listened to the thing and then immediately said it. So the time frame is kind of all over the place. But it looks like there might be some interesting stuff going on there with that. So they also said at the same time that the engine's still crap. That I don't believe as much because like I don't believe it. I don't not believe it. I'm kind of like middle of the road. They've completely retooled huge sections of their engine, and we have no idea where their engine is sitting at right now. We do know that they've been able to do some really cool stuff with it, and that they've been making advancements for a really long time, and that it's been a long time since they started on these fixes and upgrades. They started overhauling this engine 7 years ago. Okay, you have to remember, 7 years ago was when the last time we got a game on this engine. The engine that came with 76 was largely the same engine that they were using on Fallout 4.
Wait. Sorry, hold on. Sorry to interrupt you. Is Fallout 4 really 7 years old?
Yeah, well, it was put out in 2015.
Wow, jeez. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
It's not 7 years old today. It will be 7 years old this year. That's
Gotcha.
in there. So the engine has had a lot of time for upgrades, and we know that they didn't implement as many. We know that they did not implement a large ton of those changes into 76 because they had to launch it as is. They didn't have time to rebuild the game inside of a new engine, which they would have pretty much had to. They had to port over some small changes that could be retroactively put into 76 in its current form without changing the engine that much. They have since then been doing lots of upgrades to the engine, but there's still lots of problems with it in the 76 frame world. But again, that's 7 years difference than the technology that we're going to be getting in the new game. So again, do I believe this? Yes and no. Do I believe that they can still have a crap engine? Yes, because it's Bethesda. Do I think that they're dumb enough to launch another stupid, broken product, completely broken with a completely broken engine after what happened with Cyberpunk and all of the other stuff that's happened in the last few years? No, I really don't think so, and I really don't think that they're that dumb, because this is Todd Howard's like magnum opus. So unless he's looking to get fired and be given a golden parachute, why would he do this?
Right.
Especially when it's his magnum opus. This is the newest, biggest thing he will ever create, as in like newest and biggest all at the same time, right? He could do a new Elder Scrolls game, but that's not new. That's not breaking new ground. He might add new stuff to it, add more and new interesting forms of gameplay, but he's still going to be launching, off the back of Skyrim, off the back of Oblivion, off the back of Morrowind,
right.
Off the back of this. It's not the newest, biggest thing he could do.
Right. He's aiming for the next Skyrim in terms of revolutionizing gaming culture.
Yes, and so his choice now with this is Starfield. The only other thing that they had a remote ability to work on was doing a game in Star Trek universe. So, how's that going to work out? Yeah, maybe.
Well, they do have Indiana Jones. We'll see about that. But go ahead.
So there was just a report put out about Elder Scrolls 6 rumor leaks, release date information, all that kind of stuff. This isn't really worth talking about too much, because again, it's the whole, they want to release it 2025. Yeah. It's like, okay, they want to release it 2025. That's a really long ways from now, or 2026.
But it sounds right.
Could they do it? Well, they have grown as a studio. They are now getting a lot of help from Microsoft. If they release this game this year, then that gives them roughly about 3 years to get the next game worked on, and we know that they are working on it concurrently. So yeah, basic math says this works.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I don't.
Again, mm-hmm. This is one of these things where it's like this is so weird and dumb in a certain way, but it sort of works. One of the other things that I want to talk about just briefly on this before I pass out is there's a rumor that there's going to be a second Starfield game coming out following this release, and it will be an MMO RPG. To that, I say bull, and more bull. There's no way that they're going to release an MMO, having worked on it for years and years and years, on a product that they don't even know if anybody's going to be interested in playing. This is a huge bet, a massive bet they're taking right now on this being an actual successful product. We don't know if people are going to like literal Elder Scrolls in space.
Right.
We don't know.
Plus, why
we don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off. And for them to say, oh yeah, we've also been secretly working on a massive MMO, and it's going to follow this release. It's like somebody's taking crazy pills, and somebody's being listened to after having taken crazy pills.
Yeah. There's no way.
Yeah.
Why would they do that? Like Elder Scrolls Online is already doing a wonderful job. Why would they create a second one that competes with Elder Scrolls and split up the customer base? Because the people that play Elder Scrolls Online would want to play a Starfield MMO, right? Mm-hmm. And it would just take away, the amount of players that would be possible for both games. It's kind of like why Blizzard never did World of StarCraft, right? Yeah. At least one of the many reasons.
Now, this may also be getting confused with the Mandalorian MMO that's being rumored to be in production.
Oh.
A new Star Wars MMO is... I see this one is one of those things that I could sort of believe, because they are... So SWTOR is getting old, and it doesn't have the tech is not there to upgrade that game like it is in World of Warcraft. The engine is flexible enough that you can upgrade it considerably. We've already seen considerable upgrades in the form of basically everything about the game over the last 16 years, 17 years. Oh Lord. It's been evolving at a decent rate. So if you look at the game originally and look at it today, you'll notice that, the textures on the characters vastly improved. The textures in the world vastly improved. Far more detail. Better animation, better all this kind of stuff. Way less women in portraits, more fruit bowls instead. Stuff like that. Those kind of upgrades. I'm laughing at that, obviously. Mocking it, obviously. But in a state, if you're in control of the Star Wars IP, and you have had the ability to in the last 2 years to appoint that a new MMO should be made, this makes sense.
Yeah. Plus, The Mandalorian is hot right now. And the Old Republic, even though hardcore fans of the franchise know of it and are invested in it, the vast majority of people haven't played Knights of the Old Republic. I haven't played Knights of the Old Republic. I know. I will be getting to it soon. Don't worry. People have been begging me to analyze Kreia from KOTOR 2, for example. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Mandalorian.
One of the best villains in history, by the way.
Yeah, that's what everybody says.
Yeah. So really, when we look at this, basically I could say, well, it all makes sense. But then the second question you have to ask yourself is, has Disney and LucasArts been making sense with any of their recent decisions on any of this product? The answer to that is a resounding no.
Well, not a resounding no. People like Mandalorian. They like Jedi Fallen Order. They like the Rogue Squadron game, right? But yeah, before that, absolutely. But more recently, you got to give them some credit.
Well, maybe, but again, it's the same people in charge, right?
Fair enough.
So it's the Mandalorian show has done amazingly well. Why? Because the people who are creating it, writing it, have free reign to do what they want. Every other aspect of the Star Wars universe right now is under a very tight thumb of somebody who got rid of all of their old lore, decades and decades of lore that was built lovingly by amazing artists and fans and everybody else, and who then went on later to complain that there was no history of content to pull from when doing the new movies. That's why they were having difficulty with the new movies, is because, unlike Marvel has all this history behind them. They have decades and decades of content written by amazing artists, and they don't have anything like that at Star Wars. The anger that I have in hearing that just makes my blood boil.
Yeah, what's the name of that blue face guy that everybody loves from the expanded universe? The villain?
Oh, the Admiral. The guy,
Admiral Thrawn. There we go. Yeah.
Thrawn,
all right. Yeah, just trying to remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's so dumb that they're doing this. So yeah, I wouldn't. Don't hold your breath. Don't count your stars out. Careful on these leaks. There are some leaks that are true. Some of the stuff that has come out is true because they're not actually leaks, or they are leaks that I mean have managed to get out maybe, or it's just somebody who's guessed on it and who happens to be right on some of the guesswork. But the thing that I would encourage people to focus on is the lesson that we had to learn about Cyberpunk, and that was that we heard a lot of stuff. It was verifiably true. A lot of it was. The problem that we ran into, and it was quite a heavy problem, was that they kept making changes. So when you hear that there's going to be no dragons in Elder Scrolls 6, you're like possibly 4 years away from that game being real. That decision could change 4 times between now and then.
Yeah.
Or more. And so stuff like that is where you have to be really careful because, again, some leaks may be true at the time that they are leaked out that are then no longer true when the game goes live. And that was the difficult lesson that we had to learn.
Yeah.
They had been working on third person over at CDPR for a long time, and then they pulled it, and they said, but it's still in the game because, you still have cars that you could go with third person. And everybody was like, most people weren't happy with that.
Right.
And yeah. So,
anyways,
yeah.
We, when it comes to Bethesda leaks, you sort of got to treat them like you would Rockstar leaks, and that most of them should be seriously taken with a grain of salt because those 2 companies in particular are very, very successful at keeping any information about their games under wraps. Mm-hmm. And yeah, certainly keep that in mind when it comes to Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. Okay, we got a couple more that we got to get through. We're going to have to go through these really, really quickly. Diablo Immortal. Apparently, not everybody has phones, or even if they do, they're not willing to play this particular game on them. So, some good news. Excuse me for my cough. Diablo Immortal, it was just recently announced on Blizzard's main website that they are going to be doing a beta version of Diablo Immortal on PC to appeal to that market of Diablo fans, which is the vast majority of them, that prefer to play the game on PC. Now, keep in mind, it will apparently feel very different from other Diablo PC games because it was made exclusively for phones. That's why it's just a beta and not a full release. But thankfully, it will be releasing at the exact same time on PC as it does on mobile. Yeah. So that in and of itself is good news. But Syb, I know, like I was recently talked to you about this on our private messaging, the stuff that we do for Maximum News. This probably isn't going to be like the saving grace for the game that is required, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I saw it. It does not, it doesn't look like a Diablo game to me. You know why it doesn't look like a Diablo game to me? Because there's no burning bodies and tortured souls and stuff like that. Why? Because they want to turn it into a family game. Oh, it's going to be so great that Mom, yes, little Timmy, Mr. Diablo, he's being mean to me in this Diablo game again. Oh, my, that Lord of Destruction, what a funny character he is.
Right.
Puts her hands on her hips and leans over, and then the laugh track kicks in. Oh, good Lord.
Is it rated teen? Like, is that why? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. They like, y'all forget there was like nudity and like bodies, and there was really terrible things in Diablo 1. And then there was slightly less terrible things in Diablo 2. Still a lot of them, but not as many. And then Diablo 3 was like, hey, where's all the naked bodies gone? Oh, well, the devil wants your soul. He's not going to, he has taste and class. He's not going to strip you before he takes your soul. He's just gonna, he's gonna make sure that you go to hell in a suit, and fine tailored clothes. Because yes, of course not. And then this is like this is just another step, because I was looking at it. It was like, I couldn't see an inch of skin on any of the characters or any of the monsters that looked vaguely human. Like, they had the demoness, and you think demoness, you're like, okay, so the demoness that has some kind of power and, vampire-y type thing, you'd expect them to be like, ooh la la, it's or at least have a form that was a little like, Lady Demetrescu-ish,
Yeah.
on some level. You don't even have that. It's like she was like, and again, it's not just the she's, it's the he's. It's like there was nothing there that would be like, nothing there would not much that was shown would make old grandmothers in churches go, oh my.
Someone please think of the children. Helen Lovejoy.
Yeah. Right? And so that's why I'm like, yeah, is this game going to be a Diablo game now that it's on PC? I guess in name, but it's still not going to be a Diablo game because it's on PC.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. Maybe I'm just an old coot. Please let me know in the comments which one it is.
Well, no, I don't. I like online, at least, there seems to be just general bad will surrounding this game because of the stuff that happened back at BlizzCon in 2018 and all the stuff that's been happening behind the scenes with the Activision Blizzard lawsuit. Maybe it'll come out and be the best game ever, but given everything that's happened up until this point, I'm not really holding out much hope for that. Let's hope that when Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 come along, it'll be something closer to the Blizzard that we all know and love, that, from back when Overwatch and prior, those games came out. I
hope so. I hope that they could get back on their feet. I want to be able to forgive and forget and move on, but they just keep they keep pushing, they keep trying. The patience is a virtue.
Yeah. Well, hopefully with the, sort of the optimism you had when Microsoft acquired Bethesda, maybe that something, if that.
No, I do have a lot of hope for that. I do have a lot of hope for that, because again, the biggest thing is that they get to remove a lot of leaders that have been doing bad things, that have been doing poor things. People who are like, nobody wants to play vanilla. It's like you idiot. Yeah, sure. Nobody wants to play vanilla all the time, but there was a lot of people who still wanted to play vanilla, and who I mean, there's still people who want to play vanilla, and they're still doing good on that. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are just like get it together, man. Oh my god, it's just your job.
Yeah, I mean, like, doing good at your job. Let's make that like mainstream again. And then finally, let's talk about PlayStation and their aims to preserve their games. So, Video Games Chronicle, they noticed this little bit of information from a new employee's posts on Twitter and LinkedIn. There's this guy named Garrett Fredley who was hired on as a senior build engineer, and he tweeted out the following. I'm going to quote him directly. Today is my first day as a senior build engineer at PlayStation, working as one of their initial hires for the newly created preservation team. Game preservation was my first career passion, so I'm ecstatic that I get to go back to these roots. And that's the end of the quote. This sort of coincides with the announcement of the new PS Plus tiers. That was another thing that we didn't get to talk about the week that it happened. I imagine the game preservation will be a part of sort of their highest tier, which allows people to enjoy an expanse of PS1, PS2, and PSP games. I hope that the announcement of this particular team will indicate that they're going to take the PS3 and the PS Vita games a little bit more seriously and make them something that you can actually buy and enjoy on future systems rather than just stream them, because that's sort of where things are for the PS3 side. This is good news, right? Depends on how they do it, I guess.
Yeah, it entirely depends on how they do it.
Like, is it going to, are they going to do, when they preserve them, are they going to add some of the benefits of what emulation does, where you can up like upscale the resolution, change the textures, or is it going to be like some of the crappier re-releases of certain games recently, like say Chrono Cross, which came out on the Nintendo Switch and it barely stays at 30 FPS, right?
And that's basically all. Well, I mean, that is in some way what the only thing that people want. They don't want an upgraded graphical system. They don't want all that kind of stuff. They just want the ability to, change the resolution to fit their TV or screen or whatever, to view it in the best way possible, and then to play the game, in in some kind of fashion that they played it originally at.
That's it.
That's all they want. And for some reason, some companies like Nintendo and PlayStation have said no to this for so long. People are like, we'll give you money. Shut up, take my money. Here's my money. How much money do you want? And this is the insane thing. This is the insane thing. You have companies that are having difficulty gathering financial
backing,
war chests in order to play with the big boys, play with the big billion-dollar companies. And they're in the boardroom going, oh, I don't know how are we going to fight against Microsoft? Microsoft is so big. What are we going to do? They're so big. Knock, knock, knock. Yeah, who's there? It's Miss Johnson from the lobby. She says that there's tens of thousands of people outside holding up stacks and stacks of thousands of dollars in cash, begging for the ability to play their old favorite games on some kind of an emulator on their PCs, laptops, or phones. Oh, I don't have any time for this. We need to find out where we can make millions and millions of dollars. We're gonna get left behind. I don't know what's going on. Like, how do we fight against Microsoft?
They make it out like it's such a really difficult thing to do, but like, dude, I saw. Okay, just going back to the
you can literally hire 100 programmers who have been running emulation sites for the last 3 decades that have entire libraries basically ready to go. You could literally just walk in and say, hi, we'd like to buy your services and all of the stuff that you've done with our games in the last 20 years. Sure, how much? Here's $1 million. Oh, awesome. And here's another $1 million to stay on staff for the next 2 years.
Done.
Oh, great. Cool, we'll make this happen. You literally have that choice. And again, I'm not kidding. You literally have people who are begging, please, I want to be able to play early Nintendo PlayStation games on my computer with my son or daughter or child or friend or brother or whatever. I really just want to play old-fashioned 2-player games from when I grew up with my friend, brother, father, son, child, whatever today. Can I please do this? I make a lot of money in my now very expensive job. Do you want $5,000? You want $10,000? How can I make this work? And you have these companies go, excuse me, sir, excuse me, you're bothering us right now. We're trying to figure out how to make money.
Don't make me call security on you. Yeah, it's like I saw this video the other day of Metal Gear Solid 4 running on the RPCS3 emulator. And they got it to up the point like that Metal Gear Solid 4 fans have been waiting for years. They got it to be able to run the game at 4K 60 FPS. Not like you have to have very specific settings to keep it from going to a crash state, but it's almost there, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, hold on a second. The cat just came in. And all they would have to do is just maybe give a few programmers just some money to fix up those remaining bugs, and then it would be all taken care of, right? But no, like for some reason they just have some sort of animosity to it, and like you, Syb, I don't understand what the problem is.
Because these companies have been struggling for cash, and yet they're sitting on a mountain of gold behind them, going, well, we can't touch that. Oh yeah, clearly we can't touch that. No, we can never touch that. Like, and again, these companies have been close to bankruptcy. Nintendo was so close to bankruptcy that they had to cut everybody's pay. Everybody at the company cut their pay, including, and again, credit to them, the bosses. They're like, we're going to cut our pay too. Meanwhile, you have a lineup of thousands of people out the door holding up stacks of cash saying, can you please take my money? And they're going, no. It's like, why won't you take my money?
Yeah.
Explain it to me. What is wrong? Is there some kind of licensing problem? Is there some kind of like technical limitation? Look, we just don't want to engage with you. Please go away.
You filthy plebs.
We don't care what you have to say or what you have to do. Just leave us. Leave us alone. Walk away. Mm-hmm. And it's the madness.
Well, that's fine. I'll just go to download a SNES emulator or Dolphin emulator, or I'm just gonna name all of them right now, so you guys could go download them yourselves, since they just won't listen to us. The PCSS3. I don't know. I'll link them in the description box below. But anyways, the story of PlayStation, at least, and Sony doing something right in trying to do this, the attempt is appreciated. Like I said before, it's going to be whether or not it actually turns out okay, but we'll see. Anyways, we actually ended up having a full show. Holy crap. Thank you so much.
I also want to throw this out. Dune Wars, Dune Spice Wars are out. Now I have a question for everybody. Do you know of the spice melange? The spice.
What's going on? I don't understand.
You don't know? Have you not watched Dune?
No, I've watched it. Like, I saw the movie like a few months ago. I don't remember. Like, I know about the spice, but yeah.
Okay, so whenever they're talking about the spice, it always goes into that whispery, like, they're thinking thing terminology. Like, all of the shows have done this in some way, shape, or form, where it's always like, the spice. So, like, clearly you're not a diehard fan of the Dune universe.
Right. No, I recently just got into it when I saw Denis Villeneuve's movie. The spice sounds like steam escaping.
They whisper it, and especially when they're doing, like, the brain reading scenes where it's like you're hearing the person's inner dialogue. It's always like, do they know of the spice melange? You know, and I guess I know I'm butchering that. I'm sick, assuming.
It's okay. Man, I wish people would refer to me that way when they spoke about my name. Oh, yeah. Have you seen Max's channel? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, a little bit. But no, the game is out. It is very interesting. We have a couple people in our Discord playing it. If you are interested, they don't have co-op or PvP yet. Still in early access, but if you're interested in such things, obviously head over to the channel and say hi.
Cool. All right. Maybe, I've heard good things about it. I'll have to maybe look into it, because I've never really played games like that, like the 4X style. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for this episode of Maximum News. Thank you very much for joining us. Make sure to hit that like button, because when you do, it not only helps out this episode of the Maximum News Show, it also helps out all the other videos on this channel. I want to thank Syb, as always, for doing this show with me, despite the fact that he's sick. I always appreciate, fighting against all the odds and giving us all of his insightful commentary. Syb, do you want to tell people about the other channel real quick before we sign off?
The main, check out the main channel, the Triple S League, and then also our Discord. You find it in the descriptions.
Cool.
And Gilded. We also have a Gilded too.
Right. I got to set mine up, like my Gilded up soon. And then you guys could just find me on all the relevant forums of social media, Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff. Just at Max Derrat. I'll put links to that stuff and Syb stuff in the description box below. Thanks, guys. And until we do this again next week, I want to remind you, as always, stay yellow.
Goodbye.